Welcome back to the channel. So for this video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about the 5 things I learned from my failed trip to the Colorado National Grassland and Pawnee Buttes. In photography, just like in every vocation out there, planning is essential. I thought I had made a plan. I thought I had done some good research, but when I got into the field at Pawnee Buttes, a lot of things went wrong for me. So this is the list of 5 things that I learned on my trip to Pawnee Buttes. Pay a little more attention to more than just the forecast. Before I go into Pawnee Buttes, I had done some research on Google Earth and took a look at the area and where I wanted to kind of scope out where I was going to be walking and hiking through. Noticing that right next to Pawnee Buttes was a very large wind farm. Now, if you're not familiar with a wind farms generate electricity through the wind. Just like you can't have hydroelectric power without water, you can't have a wind farm without wind. I saw that and didn't take it into consideration. So when I got to my location, the wind bursts were 20 to 40 miles an hour. That made it very difficult for, number 1, recording audio, number 2, being able to get my bearings a little bit, and number 3, part of the reason I went to the Pawnee Buttes in the first place was because you can fly a drone there. And in 40 mile an hour winds, drones are very difficult to control, and I didn't want to lose my drone. Therefore, it made it more difficult to try and provide what I wanted to. If I'd done the research and paid attention to what I was seeing and thought it through, that may not have been an issue. And as important as that wind was, paying attention to the forecast was just as important. I did see that it was going to be a sunny day. I knew it'd be warm out there, but there was not a cloud in the sky. Now, normally that's not such a big deal, but if you try to do landscape photography, the clouds definitely help with creating some drama. So the photo that I took had 0 clouds. There was very little drama at all in the photograph, and there was very little color at all in the photograph. So it is pretty much a very basic snapshot style photograph. I was happy with kind of the composition, but I was not happy at all with the end result because it was, flat and kind of boring. There was no drama, there was no interest really. It's a nice picture of the butte itself, but other than that, it's pretty unremarkable. Number 2, make sure your equipment is ready to go. So like I said earlier, a big part of going to the Pawnee National Buttes was the fact that I could fly my drone there. So the wind notwithstanding, when I got to Pawnee Buttes and I tried to fire up the drone as I walked around the back of the butte to kind of hide from the wind and maybe get some shots along the side and barely over the top, the drone itself needed to be recalibrated, number 1, and updated, number 2. Those were things that I had not checked before I left. If I had, I may have had more success getting it off the ground at the very least, but trying to calibrate it and calibrate the IMU in the field was just too much to ask for, especially in that wind, in that sun, and that heat. It was a very dry day, very windy, and a lot of dust being kicked up, so that made it very difficult. Thinking ahead and getting my drone calibrated and ready to go immediately would have been the smart thing to do. The other item for making sure your equipment is ready to go was I had just gotten my new 14-30 Z-mount lens, f4. I was very excited to be able to use that on my first landscape shoot. If I'd thought through where I was going and what I was doing, I probably would have realized before I got there that a longer lens was going to be much more applicable for the situation with the Pawnee Buttes. They're a long way away, they're very big, they are in very desolate areas. There isn't a whole lot of interest on the ground there, especially this time of year. If it would have been earlier in the summer, possibly I could have gotten some wildflower shots or included something like that. But trying to use a wide angle lens on the buttes themselves was a big mistake. The shot I ended up getting was with my 70-200 long lens. And honestly, for the entire day that I was out there, I never used the 14-30 once, which was because I didn't think through where I was going and what I was trying to capture. Number 3 is make sure you have what you need. I had eaten breakfast that morning and didn't take any food with me. I took one bottle of water, didn't take any sunscreen for what I knew was going to be a very hot day. I was parched pretty much the entire day, trying to conserve water to make sure that I could stay out there for the 8 hours I was going to be in the field next to the buttes. The car was too far away to come back and then make it back out there, lugging all my gear in and lugging it all back out just for the water. I was not prepared, and by the end of the day I was starving. And when I was trying to get that last photo, that last shot, waiting for sundown to go, I was not focused on the photo because I was thinking about what food do I have in the car when I get back there, because I am so hungry right now. It may sound a little bit, petty and simple, but the truth is my focus was not on taking the photo like it should have been. It was on conserving enough water. Am I going to have water for the walk back? Am I going to have food in the car? Where can I stop and grab some food if there's no food in the car? And how bad is this sunburn going to be? Because it was starting to feel pretty crispy while I was out there. And I knew that it was going to cause me some pain for the next couple of days. Number 4, dress appropriately. I had pants on, I had hiking boots on, so that was fine. I didn't bring a jacket. If you're familiar with the Pawnee Buttes and the wind, it does get pretty chilly pretty quick once that sun goes down. I had a short sleeve shirt on. I didn't have anything else to back myself up. And I got a pretty good sunburn while I was out there. I didn't take the right hat to cover my neck and my ears. And if you know Colorado, being this close to the sun, you burn pretty quickly in Colorado. Especially in an area where there's literally, in the Pawnee Buttes, literally no shade. There are no trees out there for the most part. It is one huge expanse of flat grassland. I was not dressed appropriately. Not for warmth, not for one, and not for protection, number 2, from the sun. Number 4 would be work with what you have. I went to Pawnee Buttes with kind of an image in mind. I knew what I wanted to capture, and I think that limited me from spending some time looking around, trying to find other things to shoot in that area. If you're familiar with the area, it's very large. It's 63,000 square miles, something like that. Maybe that's much, I'm not sure, but it's a big number. And there's so much to see and do. And I went with one image in mind. It was in my head. The lens that I was bringing was not the right lens to shoot that. I did have the 7200 with me, so I knew I could make that adjustment if I had to. But I had a picture in my head, and that's what I was looking for. So on the 1 to 2 to 3 hour walk in, I passed up a lot of stuff, which would have been cool to set up and shoot and make some time for, because I was looking for the right location to get this photograph. When I got to where I thought the right location would be, I kind of set up and scoped it out, and I spent way too much time there waiting for either good light or the right conditions, and I didn't get shots of anything else while I was there, because in the area that I was, there was nothing there. I'd passed it all up already. So when I'd been sitting down there waiting, by the time I realized this photo wasn't going to work, I was starting to rush now to find a location that I could shoot from, in addition to trying to find an area where I could record, because the wind was so bad that there was just no way to be able to record where I was, what I was doing, and kind of the format for the videos I've done so far. So by the end of the day, I was extremely frustrated in the fact that I'd literally taken 2, maybe 3 photos. The photos themselves were average. They're not, the focus is good on them, but there's not a whole lot of interest in them, and I'll show you the photo here. But nothing that I would be excited about to say I spent 8 hours driving, 2 hours there, 2 hours back, and 8 hours in the field to capture this photo. 12 hours total seems like a bit of a waste of time for the photo that I got, and that's my fault because I didn't plan properly. To be fair, I did plan better than I probably would have, if I'd been going out solo without talking to anybody about it, but it still wasn't enough. I felt like after my first 3 trips that I knew what I needed. I knew what I was looking for. I knew how to navigate in and out and budget my time properly. And all those things I dropped the ball on my trip on Wednesday up to Pawnee Buttes. So even though the photograph was a failure, I do think that the trip as a whole was successful for number 1. I got out of the house, which is a big part of why I wanted to do landscape photography in the first place, was to get out and see more of Colorado because I had the time. And being able to take these lessons away is a positive. Now, it didn't make for a great day, but it will make for a better day the next time I go out. So thank you for indulging me in this video format. Not quite what I had in mind for this week's video, but under the circumstances, I didn't have much else of a choice because I couldn't present the trip that I was on because I couldn't get footage really, and I couldn't get any audio. So we switched it up and went with this. I was able to learn something, and I'll take that with me. And hopefully, if you're into landscape photography, these 5 tips will help you as well. So thanks, and I'll see you next week.